somebody said, well, safe is supposed to be a starting point towards an end. And I said, and they used the example of building a dam. They said it's supposed to be starting to build the dam. I said, yeah, the problem is they're selling it as the whole damn thing. And it's a done dam. And there were a whole lot of dams in there, but different types of spellings. But
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Agile or BS. I'm Peter. This is my main man, Bob, from Agile for All. We love answering all of your Agile and Scrum related questions. And today we're going to be talking about one that some of you guys have heard, probably, especially if you have experienced or have been trained in or have worked around the world of SAFe, or Scaled Agile Framework, which is brought to us by Dean Leffingwell. Now, there's an entity or individual in the SAFe framework called a release train engineer. Now, I can harken back to my education in this, and I think I remember this pretty well, but essentially a release train engineer is an individual who sits at the program level and ensures that the programs or multiple trains are not blocked, or not creating constraints or risks on each other, and essentially kind of like an Uber Scrum Master over the program level rather than a Scrum Master over the tactical teams themselves. If I've got this wrong, that's why there's a comment section and you guys can let us know. But is a release train engineer, this is the question, is a release train engineer agile? I'm on a roll, so I'm just going to keep talking, Bob. So do I believe a release train engineer is agile? Frankly, not really. I find that if you have a good individual at the program level, which I often call a program manager, but you guys know what that is, right? Someone who's over the portfolio of work, who understands how, I'm just going to use an example from a client of past, right? Their product portfolio was banking, credit card, online, mobile, investments. And so they had all these big product lines in this product portfolio. What this program manager's job was to ensure that herd the cats, have a scrum of scrums, at least at this organization, that's what we did, and made sure that we were bringing in everyone every other day from each of those teams and those departments. It was about 35 people of sorts, if I remember correctly, and ensured that they were aligned, that when banking was deploying, it didn't mess up mobile. And when mobile was deploying, it didn't mess up banking or investments. And so a program management level Scrum Master, removing impediments, ensuring flow happens, I think is absolutely essential within a scaled agile company, or a company that's scaled and large, that has a product portfolio. But a release train engineer, I guess you could call a program manager release train engineer, as long as they're unblocking, removing impediments, ensuring the wheels are greased. But I wouldn't substantiate a new role for that if you have already a program manager or a tactical project manager who can move up a level. Man, I am getting into the weeds here. So I'm going to stop right now. Is a release train engineer agile, Bob? I'll let you fly with it. I feel like I now have to explain what scale is.
I think in any organization, the titles are meaningless. So release train engineer is a widget of a different color. Is it agile? By definition of just the name, who the hell knows? To me, it's agile based on what it does, right? So I've seen, and you've seen this too, Peter, we've seen a lot of developers who are not agile. So could a release train engineer be agile? Maybe, maybe not. My problem with it is where it sits in SAFe, and the whole problem we've discussed with SAFe all along. And SAFe is a starting point for people to start to try to figure out how to scale their enterprise with agility, and people are selling it as an endpoint, and they can't even get to that endpoint. I had an interesting Twitter exchange last week where somebody said, "Well, SAFe is supposed to be a starting point towards an end." And I said, and they used the example of building a dam. They said it's supposed to be starting to build the dam. I said, yeah, the problem is they're selling it as the whole damn thing. And it's a done dam. And there were a whole lot of dams in there, but different types of spellings. But if you're trying to build the Hoover Dam and you think the Hoover Dam is safe, you're going to be in big trouble, because it's not. It's like the bottom of the lowest exit point of that dam. It's meant to be a starting point. Is a release train engineer agile? It's certainly part of scaled agile framework. I would probably have someone have that title just at the beginning to make sure we understood what the role was. But I don't think I would keep most of the roles that are in SAFe as long as I was abiding by some of the concepts. And I would certainly try to get past SAFe as quickly as I can. And I shudder to think about it because I've heard the word SAFe from so many people in the last week about how they're struggling with various aspects of it. I'm like, well, that's because you don't understand the basics of agility. You're trying to match this pretty picture on a chart, and you're putting people into all these different slots. You've got your this and your release train engineer, and you've got your portfolio this and this, that, and that is the practices and the picture aren't what make it, right? It's the underlying concepts of agility that make it be agile. And so if you're in a position as a release train engineer, I'm not saying that you're not agile, but what I'm saying is there's probably room for improvement if you try to become more knowledgeable about the agile basics, the framework of principles and values that drive it to success. SAFe has those on their picture, lean and agile manifesto values and principles. That's all over that if you click in the various places, but that's the problem. You got to click and find those things. Find them, become a better release train engineer. And then by all means, call yourself something else, because an engineer is about on time, good service, think about the engineer of a train, all these things that they're trying to do. And the job of a release train engineer is make stuff happen, right? It doesn't have to happen on a particular date or time if that's not the right answer. But a release train engineer would say it needs to be at that time. Not always correct. So I think the concept of engineer gets in the way. It's the wrong wording. Just like the wrong word is sprint, right? Sprint is meant to be short time frame, but people take sprint as fast. It doesn't mean go fast. It means get it done in this amount of time.
Exactly.
And divorce the two concepts. So release train engineer, understand that they're trying to say you're an engineer, which puts you in charge. You're not an engineer that says this thing runs on time all the time. That to me is against agility. So
if I can just bring up an anecdote, you might remember this, Bob, but I had the amazing opportunity to take my SAFe course with the two creators of XP, Extreme Programming, Ron Jeffries and Chet Hendrickson. And it was Alan Shalloway was our trainer. And I'm not going to speak bad about anybody, but let's just say that my audience was brutal, man. When we talked about the release train engineer, I remember, I think sideways, a squirrel. We probably spent 30 minutes arguing about how that name, release train engineer, doesn't make any. They're not an engineer. You're right. So you're completely misconstruing the entire kind of foundational basis of this role, and it asserts a certain outcome. It asserts a certain personality. It asserts a certain characteristics. And anyway, you can't call the baby. Let's just put it this way: you don't want to call someone's baby ugly when they're sitting in the room, and you certainly don't want to use the wrong words that the guy sitting in the room actually made up. So you don't want to do that, guys. But you know what? Again, Bob and I are just two knuckleheads who love Agile and have been doing it for a long time. We have opinions and we have experiences, but we're not always right. You guys might have different opinions and different experiences, and we always love hearing about it. So smash the like button, leave a comment below if you've seen something different, or if you have a better idea around release train engineers than we do. But there's also another place that you can go. You can go to agileforall.com and you can check out our forums, join our community, ask a question. We'll make sure that we get to it, and we'll see you in there. And maybe if you're a release train engineer and you're looking to, let's just say, level up your Scrum mastery at that level, we also have some great courses that you can check out on agileforall.com as well. Thanks for joining us, my friends. We'll see you in the next one.